Hi everyone, it's me, Spring, the fiber enthusiast, and welcome to the channel. I want to welcome each and every single one of you and thank you for being here. Today, we're going to talk about and work up the tutorial for this cardigan. So I wanted to show you, bring you in and show you some pictures of it on, plus talk about the construction of this specific cardigan. So basically, we're making mile a minute, so it's easily adjustable because you can add more strips, you can decrease strips, and depending on the length will depend on how long it is. So your shoulder pieces are going to go from wherever you want them to be, whether it's below the hiney, at the waist, and it's going to go up and over the shoulder and down the front to the same spot. So when you measure, you're going to measure from wherever you want it to end to your shoulder and then times it by 2, or just go straight over the shoulder and measure down to where you want it to end on the other, the opposite side. Up to you how you want to do that. Now that's for the shoulder, over the shoulder, and these side pieces. Now for below the neck, behind the neck, that is very, very easy as well. Excuse my squeaky, lovely squeaky mannequin here, Nikki. She's getting old and fragile. So for the back, you're going to work just half the length of your other side, both sides. So you're only working half, and you'll only need 2 or 3 to cover your back section between the longer pieces. So we work up all these mile a minute long strips for both sides, and then the short ones. And on the short ones, we make them flat on one end, and then you have the typical mile a minute on the end here. All right, squeakiness again. Okay, so that's for the basic overall construction of the cardigan. Then we are going to work the sleeves, which is in a different pattern. Same style as far as the stitches, but it's a different pattern. And then we add that pattern, if you would like, we add that pattern just to the front, just one simple row of it to the front, go around the side or the back, and, kind of clean up the edges on the back and then work it down the other side as well. All right, so I'm going to, since I've already done the large cardigan for myself, you've seen in the pictures, I will be doing this on the table in toddler size. So you could make this small, you could make this big, you could make it whatever size you want, in between, a large, extra large, triple X. It's up to you how you want to do it. Now I will say that I used approximately a skein and a half of Red Heart Ombre Spearmint for the green color. I used approximately a half a skein of Crafter's Secret Choice, Crafter's Secret from Hobby Lobby, the great big white. And it has like 900 and something yards in it or something like that. It's a lot. We'll get into that down at the table. But I did use quite a bit of yarn for this particular one. Just so you know, wearables do use a lot of yarn. But if you want to make this, I invite you to join me over at the work table, and let's get started on the tutorial. Welcome to the work table. So here's what we have. We have the mile a minute stitch. Now, if you've been following along with my most recent videos, this was a stitch tutorial. And the reason I did that was so that way you could practice if you wanted to work up this cardigan and you've never done that particular stitch pattern. So this is the mile a minute, and you can do several rounds in the cardigan that I am doing, I have this center strip and one round around it, and I connect as I go. Now, this is an easy way to grow your cardigan fast. So you could do one panel in the center and have several rounds of it. Now, of course, on the back one, we do square off the last round and make it so that way it is flat. So that way this point isn't coming up the back of your neck. But you can make it wider and longer, faster by adding more rounds. Absolutely. And you can add more colors this way real easily. So like I have this mint green in the middle, and then lemon yellow, and then the mint green again. You can absolutely do that if you so wish. So I'm going to bring over my scratch pad so that way you can see what I'm doing and how I kind of constructed this. Even though I showed you on the mannequin, I want to show you on paper. So here's my scratch paper. Now I did omit one of the center panels on my overall cardigan. I only ended up with 2 panels on the back between both of my long sections, and that was just preference. So from where it was in the front to where it was in the back, just below my waist, was a total of 45 inches. So my center panels had to be 22.5 inches. Now how this worked up for me was 60 of these repeats in the center here. Your very first strip was 60 of them. And that was for me. Now, mind you, I'm very, very short torso. So yours might need more. It's okay to add more. Or maybe you need less. Maybe you're shorter in the torso than I am. I know I don't have much of a waist at all. But I had to have 60 for the shoulder pieces, the ones that went over from the waist over my shoulder and down to my waist. Now, for the ones in the center, I did half of that. So 30 total in the center. And then I worked my round. Now, Spring, how did you figure that out? Well, what I did was the center one here, since I knew I was only going to go one round more, I knew it was approximately 3/4 of an inch to an inch in my tension for one of these little repeat shells here. Get down here where you can see one of these little repeat shells here was approximately 3/4 of an inch to an inch for me and my tension. So what I did was I removed roughly an inch of length. So instead of the overall 45 inches, I went with a total of 44 inches. And that helped me tremendously. So that way I was a little bit more on point as to where I wanted it to be when I finished the second round. So that's something that you might need to figure up, is do a few of these center ones first and kind of get an idea as to how many make an inch for you, or 2 inches or 5 inches. And that way you know how many of these you need to make. All right. So these are join as you go. On the last trip around, you join them as you go. There is a little bit of fumbling when you join from the long panels. You work the 2 long panels or 3 long panels together. And then you have these short pieces. Well, you can't join any further up that way. So you join as you go and work your way around. The next one, same thing, work your way around. But then you come over here and now we have to add in a long panel. So we start at the bottom and we start joining as we go, and then we're done joining and we just work all the way around for the final. Now at the end of all of these panels here, and I'll show you on our edge pieces how to put them together. You join them together as you go. So you work halfway up and then you join the front and the back together. And I'll show you this actually as we're working on it. Just trying to give you an overall idea as to what to expect before we get started. So after we do this section here, I'll show you how to join in and do the sleeves and then the little bit of decoration on the front lapel area. You don't have to do that. It's just something I wanted to add in on mine. Now for today's tutorial, I will be using Premier Basics DK. And for the original, I did use a couple of different other yarns that I have on hand. I used Red Heart Super Saver Ombre in the color Spearmint. And this is what I have left. Now, they start off with, let's see, 482 yards. And this is what I have left from the second skein. And that is 301 yards. So that's all I have left for the second skein. Almost 2 whole skeins for my cardigan. Now for the white, I used the Crafter's Secret Big Idea. And it has a total of 810 yards. Now this is what I have left from the first skein. And I was left with 264 yards after finishing my cardigan. So that kind of gives you an idea as to how much you might need for a large to extra large. Please remember that not all large and extra large are the same. My large, extra large might be different than yours due to the fact that I'm short coupled in the torso area. So what might be a good large for me might be a small for you. What might be a good extra large for me might be way too big on you in swimming or too small, either way. So that's why the measuring of your personal choice of, where you want it to sit and everything is important, and figuring it out. I can't tell you to do 60 of these shells and then it's going to work out perfect for you. Please use your measuring tape and measure your own personal body for this particular cardigan. All right. So again, I'm using for this tutorial Premier Basics DK, and this is a lightweight, and these have 306 yards a piece, and this is holly and this is white. Now, if you are interested in either of these or Premier yarn in general, I do have an affiliate link. And you can find that in the description box of all of my videos. You just have to highlight copy and paste, as well as on my about page. All right, so for the toddler size, I'm wanting 26 inches of the panels for over the shoulder. And what I did for my first one was I went ahead and worked up until 25 inches. So that way when I do the next round, it'll give me my 26 overall inches. Now what I'll do is make sure that this is divisible by 2. So whatever the number count is, just like on the big one, was 60 of these repeating shells, I need to have something that is divisible by 2. That way, when I fold it in half, it works out. So what I have is 18 shells on each side. And that gives us a total of 36 of these shells to start with. All right, so I'm going to show you how to get started with the center piece, and then I will show you how to work around the outside for the second round. And this is just going to be like a refresher of the tutorial that I did on the mile a minute stitch, which was this here. So if you need a more in-depth, I suggest going and watching that, and I will have a card for it in the upper right-hand corner. All right, so you will need a crochet hook. I'm using a 4.5 millimeter crochet hook. The hook size, suggested size, is a 4 millimeter, but I am using a 4.5. You will also need scissors, stitch marker, and a darning needle to sew in your ends, and preferably some type of measuring device, whether it's a string and a good old-fashioned measuring tape or a fabric measuring tape. However you need to measure, it's recommended that we measure. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is chain 4. Now you can chain 4 and slip stitch to your first chain. If you so choose, you can do a magic ring if you so choose. Just remember that we will be working into that ring when we work our next round. Just so you're aware, do not tighten it all the way down. You will be working into it. All right, so I do what is called a mock double crochet. And I'm going to go real slow for you and zoom in here. Slow for you the very first time, and then after that, I'm just going to say I'm doing a mock double crochet, and you can chain up if you so choose. If your normal first double crochet of the row is a chain of 2 or 3, please do so, unless you want to do the mock double crochet. If it's a chain 1 and double crochet, go for it. Do what you're most comfortable with. So for the mock double crochet, I pull up a loop to the height of a double crochet. I place my finger on that loop. I can slide it to the end of my hook and back, but it cannot slip around my hook. So then I bring my hook up over towards me, down and under and away from me. That gives us the appearance of 2 loops on our hook. I'm now going to bring my hook around and into that ring we made and yarn over and pull up a loop. Now I'm going to yarn over and pull through 2, and then yarn over and pull through the last 2. The top loop that you are holding is the top of your stitch, your first double crochet. All right, now we're going to place 2 more double crochets into that ring. And then we're going to chain 1 and do 3 more double crochets all into that same ring. All right, for row 2, we're going to mock double crochet into the first stitch. And this is your repeating row. Then we're going to reach over. We're going to skip over to this chain 1 space that we created. And we're going to do 3 double crochets, chain 1, 3 double crochets into that chain 1 space. And then we're going to skip over to our very last stitch and place a double crochet. And that is your repeat for these very center strips that we're going to be creating. So I'm going to turn my work over and I'm going to place a double crochet in the first stitch, skip over to that chain 1 space and place 3 double crochets, chain 1, 3 double crochets, all into that same chain 1 space. Then we're going to skip over to our very last stitch and place a double crochet into the last stitch. And you're just going to continue that repeat for the amount of shells that create the height that you need for all of your individual strips. For mine, I did 3 on each side to go over the shoulders, and then 2 for back here on the neck. Depending on how many rounds you end up going on your strips here would depend on how many you would need for the back. All right. So once you have your strips, I'm going to show you how to work around your very first strip. I'm going to show you real briefly. So I'm just going to get a slip knot here. And I'm going to go into the very first opening on the side, right here on the side. Let me see if I can get some white behind this. So the very first opening on the side, we have the ring that we made, our double crochet group, and then this first double crochet that stands off to the side. We're going to work in that, and we're going to work our very first corner to our mile a minute. So I'm just going to slip stitch to that spot. All right, now I'm going to do a mock double crochet and 2 more double crochets. Then I'm going to chain 1 and place 3 more double crochets into that same space. So kind of like the shell that we were just making for the strip, we're doing the same thing on the corner. So that is your corners. You will make the ends of your long strips with the point. So the same type of thing we just did here, you're going to do into the very tips. And your corners will be on each side. When we do the shorter pieces, we would flatten this out, and I'll show you how to do that in just a moment. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to work into each of these openings along the side, and you're just going to place 3 double crochets in each of those openings. Now, if you find that your work is just drawing up too much, you might need to add a chain 1 in between these 3 double crochets. So 3 double crochets, chain 1, 3 double crochets. That one went in the wrong spot. All right. Just like such. All right, I'm going to work down to the other end, and at the other end, I'm going to show you how to square off one end. All right, so we're going to turn the corner together first. We're going to create the points, and then I'll back out of it and show you how to square off the one end. So for your short pieces, or if you don't want the points on the long pieces, any of it, you can just square it off. It's real easy to do. First, we're going to go around the corner, and I want to show you how to do that first. So your very last opening down here, we're going to place 3 double crochets, chain 1, 3 double crochets, all into that last opening. And that's going to turn a corner. So there's the 3 double crochets. And now I'm going to do a chain 1 and 3 more double crochets to turn that corner. All right. So that's the corner. Now we're going to jump over to the chain 1 space and create that same stitch that we repeated for the center. We're going to 3 double crochets, 1, 2, and 3, chain 1 and 3 more back into that chain 1 space. And that's going to give our point. So we have the corner and the point. Now you would go over here to the next side and go into that first opening, and you would do the same thing. You would do 3 double crochets, chain 1, and 3 more double crochets. And that would give you your next corner. So that gives you these 2 corners and your point. Now let's back out of it to this corner over here. And to make it straight across, instead of putting that point in there, we're going to chain 1 and single crochet to the chain 1 space. Then chain 1, and now complete your next corner, the same as you did prior. So 3 double crochets, chain 1, and 3 more double crochets into that space. And all that'll do is give you a straight edge for the neck. And if you find that it bunches up too much, you might add an extra chain or 2 before your single crochet in the center there. But all that does is square it off instead of making it a point like this. So basically what we're doing is getting rid of that point in the center, so that way that part goes around the back of your neck. All right, so what you need to do is work up your strips that you need for over each shoulder. Then you need to work the strips for the center, which is half the number of shells as you have on the shoulder pieces. Then once you have that, you're going to do 1 long piece all the way around until it is completely edged in your next color. Now, from there, if you're only going to use 2 colors like I did in my main cardigan, we will catch back up and connect as we go for the join as you go part. And I will show you how to join as we go. I'm going to go finish working up the next panels that I need, these next strips that I need, so that way I can create this toddler one and show you how to join as we go. And I'll be back after that. Once you have your strips made, now whether or not you're putting 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 rounds around those strips, it doesn't matter, just as long as when you do the connecting of the strips together, you're on the same round for both strips, as well as your strips are facing the same direction. Now, what I mean by that is we have these shells stitches that are the points of them are going that direction. You want the same thing on both strips. Otherwise, it will look like this. Now, you can intentionally turn them opposite of each other. That's fine. But putting them together, that is something that you would need to be aware of when you're putting them together. So that is one of the things that you need to look at once you have your strips made, that they're going in the same direction when you do the connecting round. Now, for this toddler cardigan, and to give you a different look of it, I'm going to have a total of 3 rounds. So the strip in the center, the white round, and then the connecting round will be this green round. Whatever connecting round you have, you're going to want your first strip to be done completely all the way around. And the reason I say that is because when you go to connect your next one, you want to not have to work 3 double crochets on each side as you are going. You need to be able to connect to the same point and do the 3 double crochets on the strip that you are connecting to the one that is finished. So, for instance, this long one here is going to be the sleeve. It's going to be one of the sleeves. So what I'm going to do is to show you how to connect in the round. What you want to do for the sleeve is you want enough room for your armhole. And I would suggest placing a stitch marker directly opposite, so that way you can check it on your arm and make sure that it's going to be okay for you or whomever you're going to put it on. So for instance, I have this one here, and this is my sleeve hole. So what I'm going to do to make sure that the other one is exactly the same, I'm going to count the number of white granny stitches all the way around and make sure that I have the same number on this one. So what I have for this here, I am connected at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 12. There are 12 in between. Let's see, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and 12. Yes, there are 12 grannies in between where they're connected. All right, so the opening to my shoulder is over here. So I'm going to start right here in this corner, on the outside bottom corner. I'm going to start with a slip knot and then a mock double crochet. And I'm going to create a corner right here in the corner. So I'm going to slip stitch to place it. Now I'm going to do a mock double crochet, 2 more double crochets for a total of 3, then a chain 1 and 3 more double crochets, and that way we've turned the corner. All right, so I'm going to work 23 of these granny stitches for this toddler one. I'm going to work 23 of the granny stitch all the way up and over before I start connecting. And what we're doing is we're going in between the granny stitches. So there's 1, 2, 3, which is a granny stitch, and then a little tiny space, and then 3 more granny stitch. 3 more double crochets for another granny stitch. So we're going right in between those for your next granny stitch here. And that would be 1, because I'm not counting the corner. That would be 1. I'm going to go ahead and work 22 more of these granny stitches in between the previous row granny stitches. And then I will meet back up with you and show you how to connect. All right, so once you've made it up the side to the distance you need to connect, we're going to start connecting, and I'll show you how to connect. So you want to match up your corners from your previous row. Match up your corners from your previous row, and then match up those grannies from the previous row. So that's what we're doing here. We're just going to match them up. If you didn't put stitch markers, just make sure you're matching them up and you're connecting in an even space. Now I want to count to make sure that I have the correct number of stitches around here. Once you verify that you are even and all the stitches are the same for each shoulder. Now this may be different for you or different from the one that you're making, but once you have it to where you are matching up, everything is exactly like it should be, we're going to start connecting. So now what I'm going to do is, so I'm matched up everywhere here. The next one will be over the top of this one. So it's going to be in this next space here. So I need to connect to the one prior. So I'm going to go in between those two prior from the opposite side. And I'm going to yarn over and pull a loop through and slip stitch those together. Now I can work into the next space, a granny. So there's 1, 2, and 3. And now we're going to reach over to the next space. So I'm going to open this up a little bit so that way you can see maybe. So we're connected here. We're going to go into the very next open space from top to bottom. From top to bottom, we're going to grab our yarn and pull through and tighten it down, slip stitching it together. So your green grannies are directly across from each other. All right, now we can work into the next opening down here and place 3 double crochets into that next little space in between the grannies from the previous row. And then once again, we're going to reach over to the next opening, go down, grab our yarn and pull it up through, well, up through and slip stitch. And then work your next granny into the next space. And you're just going to connect like this all the way down to where we put the corner in down here, and we connect the corners. I'll meet up with you when we get to this corner, and I'll show you how to work around the outside. All right, once you're down here to the corner, we're right before the corner. So we have the row before corner on one side and the row that we just started corner on the opposite side. So all we're going to do is go into that chain 1 space and make 3 double crochets. Then we're going to reach over to the chain 1 space on the opposite corner and slip stitch. Now you're done connecting the 2 pieces. We can finish working around the corner and all the way back around the other side. So now we need to finish this corner by placing 3 more double crochets in it. Now, depending on how many rounds you decide to do with different colors, if it's just 1 round and you're connecting, like in my original cardigan, you would be going straight into this point. If you're doing another round like I have here, we are going to have a side. And the more rounds you have, the more spaces on the sides that you're going to get. So you have the long side and then these short sides here. So in that case, if you're working more than 1 round, in between each group, you're going to place a granny. So just like we've been doing, the only difference is it's on this short side. And then you go into the point when you get to it and make a point, which is just like the corners. 3 double crochets, chain 1, 3 double crochets. And then again, you would work your next stitch, whether it's the 3 double crochets on a side or you're going straight into the chain 1 space if you've only done 2 rounds. And when you do your corner, you work your corner exactly the same way. You go into the chain 1 space and 3 double crochets, chain 1, 3 double crochets, all into that chain 1 space. All right, so then go ahead and continue working up and all the way around the side. You do not have to connect on this side. You only connect on the one side. And then when you get down to the end, you're going to finish with your corners, your point. If you have a side, work your side, and then slip stitch to your very first double crochet from the first corner that you made. Once you have done that, I'll meet back up with you and we will work on joining together the next strip. All right, for the last part, you're going to do the connecting of your center pieces. So just like you were connecting before, we're going to connect the same way, only this time we're going to be connecting on both ends. Or both sides, rather. Now, it is entirely up to you if you want to make the top part pointed or straight across. I will be making it straight across. So this is where I'm going to start. And I'm going to start there with a single crochet. So here we go. I'm going to slip stitch to it, to this very top point here. I'm going to slip stitch, chain 1, and single crochet back into that stitch. Then I'm going to chain 2. For me, I'm going to chain 2 and I'm going to go down into this side stitch. You may only need to chain 1. You might need to chain 2, depending on how many rounds you went and how far away your next stitch is. So I'm going to chain 2, And I'm going to do a granny stitch on my side here. Like that. Now I'm going to come down and work half of my corner. So 3 double crochets into the next chain 1 space. And then we're going to slip stitch to our panel over here for the shoulder. So we need to find center of that shoulder, which would be right there. So I'm going to go from the top down, from the outside to the inside. I'm going to yarn over and slip stitch, pull through and through to slip stitch that piece together. Now, another way to count that for you, where to join, would be to count your previous row, your white row, for instance, in this case, your white row granny stitches, and just make sure that you are connecting in the same spot up here. And yes, I am connecting in the same spot up here. And then everything else is the same as far as we're going to go and complete our corner. So 3 more double crochets back into that chain 1 space. And we're going to find our next space in between the grannies on the opposite panel and connect with a slip stitch. And then jump down to your next space. And you're just going to continue to work that all the way down to the bottom. Work your corners and your points exactly like we did previously. And then when we get to the opposite corner and we have to join the other panel, that's when I'll pick back up with you. So work all the way down this side and to your point, and I'll meet up with you on the following corner. All right, so now we've made it where we are connected down the one side and we've made it to the point. Now we need to work over to the next corner here. So for me, I have a side to work first. So I'm just going to work a granny stitch into the side. As I said, it does not matter how many rounds you go with your mile a minute strips, just as long as each of them are the same in the end. Like I have 2 rounds here and I'm doing the 3rd round connecting them. All right, so now we're at the point, the corner. I'm going to work the first half of the corner with my granny stitch, 3 double crochets. Then I'm going to, instead of chaining 1, I'm going to reach over and I'm going to make sure that my panels are all going the same direction and everything lines up. I'm going to go over to my other panel, my next panel, and I'm going to find my corner and I'm going to go down through the top, pick up my yarn, bring it through, and slip stitch the 2 together. Now I'm going to finish that corner as per usual here with 3 double crochets. And then I'm going to reach over to the panel that we're attaching to. I'm going to reach over and find my next space between the granny stitches, and I am going to slip stitch to there. And then again, we're going to work back over into the next space in between the 2 grannies and work a granny. 3 double crochets. And now we're just going to reach over to our next opening and connect. And we're going to do this all the way to up here. And that is where we finish our corner, exactly the same. We're going to do the 3 double crochets, connect to the shoulder, then 3 double crochets again, and then work your side if you have a side, and then chain your chains and slip stitch to your single crochet. I'll meet back up with you at this corner and work this last little bit with you. All right, so I'm up here to my last corner, and I'm going to place 3 double crochets and then attach for my last and final slip stitch attachment. Going to attach and then 3 more double crochets back into that same space. Now I have a side here, so I am going to do my granny there. And then I chained 2 to start with over here, so I'm going to repeat that by chaining 2 and slip stitch to my single crochet, my very first stitch. So it has a little bit of a point, but we'll straighten it all out when we work our next round. So our next round is going to go with the white. I'm just going to cut away from my green here. All right, so here we are. We have the 2 panels on the front, our armholes, and then the 3 panels in the back. So out of 3 strips, we have created the back of the cardigan and the front 2 pieces of the cardigan, just by using 3 mile a minute strips. So now what I want to do is I want to work up one side of the front, across the back, and down the other side. Now, when I do that, I'm going to be using white. All right, so we're going to go to the bottom front panel, and we're going to go to the corner, and we're going to slip stitch, chain 1, and single crochet into that corner. So slip stitch, chain 1, and then single crochet into that corner. That is your first stitch of this row. Now we're going to chain 1, 2, 3, and we're going to skip 3 and single crochet into the next. So 1, 2, 3, single crochet into the next. This is your repeat. Chain 1, 2, 3, skip 1, 2, 3, single crochet into the next. You're going to do this all the way up this side, all the way to the top. So when we get here, I'll meet up with you. And then we'll work across this and down the other side. All right, once you've made it to the top, your last single crochet needs to be close to where the top of your shoulder and your neck section meets. As close as absolutely possible. All right, so now we're just going to place 1 single crochet in every stitch across. Now from this corner down, you're going to do the same repeat of chain 3, skip 3, and single crochet into the next on the opposite side. I'll meet up with you at the end and I will show you the next row. All right, so when you've got to the end, you should have the same number of chain 3 spaces on each side of the front pieces. right? So that strip is on the back. That's the front and the front. And you should have the same number of chain 3 spaces. So we're going to start in this very first, very first single crochet with a slip stitch and a mock double crochet, or chain however you do it. I'm going to show you the repeat. So I'm going to slip stitch and then mock double crochet, and 2 more double crochets as well into that first stitch. So you will have a total of 3 double crochets in your first stitch. Then we're going to single crochet to the chain 3 space, the first chain 3 space. Now we're going to chain 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And we're going to single crochet to the next chain 3 space. Now we're going to work into the next single crochet, and we're going to place 3 double crochets, chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and 3 more double crochets back into that same stitch. And then single crochet to your next chain 3 space. Now we're going to repeat chain 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, single crochet to your next chain 3 space, and work that 3 double crochets, chain 3, 3 double crochets into your next stitch, your next single crochet stitch. So 3 double crochets, chain 1, 2, 3, and 3 more double crochets back into that same stitch. Single crochet to your next chain 3 space, and chain 7, you're on repeat. And you're going to work this all the way up here to the shoulder, where I meet back up with you, and we'll talk about going across the back of the neck and down the other side. So once you've made it up your side, no matter where you end, whether you end with one of those shells or you end with a chain 7, it doesn't matter. We're simply going to work across the back the same way. Because I ended with a chain 7 and a single crochet to my last chain 3 space, I am going to place a shell right in the corner where I started the back. So that is something you can do. It is up to you. It's not necessary. You could just single crochet over to your first single crochet and work your way across the back and start again from the same point. But because I am here in this corner, I want to add a shell here. So I'm going to do 3 double crochets, chain 3, and 3 more double crochets. And this is just right at the top of the shoulder. So now I'm just going to skip over 1, 2, 3, and into the 4th, I'm going to put a single crochet. Just as if I was skipping over the top of a chain. That's all I'm doing is just skipping. So that's in the crease between the back and the shoulder right there. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to work across, placing 1 single crochet in every stitch all the way over here to 4 before this corner stitch. And I will reach over and place one of those shells into this corner stitch. So there's 1, 2, 3, chain 1, 2, 3, and 3 more double crochets. And now I'm going to single crochet to the chain space and chain 7 and begin down the other side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Single crochet to the next chain 3 space and then do another shell into your next stitch. Now go ahead and work down this next side of your cardigan, and we'll do white for the next color, or your next color that you plan on using. We're going to switch colors after this row when we get down here at the end. And then we will do the last row for around the front of the cardigan and the neck of the cardigan. And then we'll start the sleeves. All right, don't forget your last stitch is going to be just like you did at the beginning. So we're going to place 3 double crochets in that very last stitch to complete this row. All right, now we're going to cut away and pick up our contrasting color here. And once again, I'm going to start on the same side that I started in the last time. And this is a very easy repeat. We're basically repeating what we did with the previous contrasting color row, except we're working into the chain 3s and the chain 7s. So we're going to start right here in the very first stitch and slip stitch, chain 1 and single crochet. So slip stitch, chain 1 and single crochet to start the row. Now we're going to chain 1, 2, 3, and we're going to hop over to the chain 7 and single crochet to it. Then chain 1, 2, 3, and hop over to the chain 3 and single crochet to it. And that's your repeat. Chain 1, 2, 3, hop over to the chain 7, single crochet. Chain 1, 2, 3, hop over to the chain 3 space and single crochet to it. And you're going to work that same thing all the way up this side. And when you get to the neckline, you're going to work your single crochets across the neckline. Now, if you did exactly what I did here, as far as in the corner, you'll chain 3 and single crochet down here at the bottom of your, when you start your single crochets. So you'll just single crochet to the chain 3, and single crochet down here at the first single crochet after that last group of 3 double crochets. And work across to over here, single crochet, chain 3, and jump up here and single crochet. And then finish down the side exactly like you did on your first side. 1, 2, 3, and single crochet. I'll work through that corner with you. All right, so I'm coming up to my last shell here. I'm going to chain 1, 2, 3, single crochet to the chain 3 space, and then chain 1, 2, 3, and skip over the next 1, 2, 3, and single crochet to that first single crochet. Now I'm just going to work my single crochets over to the opposite side. And when I get over here, I'm going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and single crochet up here in this shell, just like such. And this is the last row for around the lapel area, the front panels. And we'll work on the sleeves next, which is the same as we just did. The same setup row and the same 2 rows that we just did. Your main color, your contrasting color, and that'll be your repeat for your sleeves until your sleeves are to the length you desire. But I'll come back and show you how to get started with your setup row and get you going on these 2 rows that we just did. All right, so here we have our completed lapel section up the side and around the neck here. Now we're going to pick up on our sleeves. So I'm going to use the white, my contrasting color here, and I'm going to find the center point where they're connected. Right at the very center. I'm going to slip stitch to that and chain 1 and single crochet back into that spot. Then we're going to repeat our setup row. You're going to chain 1, 2, 3, skip 1, 2, 3, single crochet into the next. Chain 1, 2, 3, skip 1, 2, 3, and single crochet into the next. And you're going to work that all the way around, and you may have to adjust a little bit depending to get your last loop into the space. The biggest thing is whatever you have for chain 3 loops on this sleeve, you need to do on the other sleeve. So I would recommend doing it right away, making these chain 3 setup row loops on the opposite side, and make sure you have the same number of chain 3 loops on each sleeve. It is best to have an even number of chain 3 loops. All right, so now we're going to begin our repeats. I'm going to start in the same spot that I started in originally here. Into that first single crochet, I'm going to slip stitch. And now I'm going to mock double crochet and 2 more double crochets, all in this same stitch, chain 3, and 3 more double crochets into that stitch. And that's how we're going to begin. You'll slip stitch to your very first double crochet when you get to the end. Now we're going to reach down and single crochet to our chain 3 space, chain 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, single crochet to your next chain 3 space, and repeat. Go into the next stitch and place 3 double crochets, chain 3, 3 double crochets, all into the next stitch. Single crochet to your chain 3 space and repeat. And then you're going to repeat the single crochet, chain 3, single crochet to your chain 7. You're going to repeat that same thing that we did on our front lapel panels. The same exact, this row and this row. You're just going to repeat these over and over again for the length of your sleeve, however you would like. I would end with this row, your white, where you're connecting everything together. That's where I end. Now you could add a few rows of ribbing for a cuff. You could add whatever have you, however you want to end your row. I left my original just like this. You could add a couple rows of single crochets or double crochets just to kind of, give it a little cuff if you want. For this toddler one, I may do some ribbing, 1x1 ribbing, just to kind of draw that sleeve in a little bit and not have places for the thumbs and fingers to get wound around in, because this is a toddler one. But for an adult, you can do it however you wish. Leave it as this or do the cuff. I will show you the cuff when I'm done, but I'm not going to show you how I did the cuff. It's just a 1x1 ribbing of a front post, back post double crochet. All right, so go ahead and continue working those these two rows, over and over again for both sleeves until they're the length that you desire. Whether you're adding a cuff or you're adding a few rounds of single crochets, no matter what you end up using for the cuff, if you use anything at all, just make sure that you end the row with this before starting your cuff. All right, everyone. So I'm going to go ahead and finish my sleeves. I'll show you the finished product after I'm done with the sleeves, so you can see what it looks like with the cuff being a 1x1 ribbing. And then we'll close up this tutorial on this cardigan. All right, so here we are. I still have the other sleeve to finish. I'm almost done with it, but I wanted to show you the 1x1 ribbing that I did for the cuff, just to kind of draw it up a little bit and clean up the edge of it, just because it is, like I said, this is for a toddler. So I kind of wanted to take away some of those loops down here at the end, where I would leave it for an adult but not for a toddler. So this is what the sleeve looks like, and as I still have all kinds of ends to weave in, but this is the bottom of the cardigan, and you'll see a picture of it at the end of it being finished. All right, everyone. So thank you so much for joining me. I know this is a very long video and a lot of me explaining the construction of this cardigan. I wanted to try to give you the best opportunity to be able to follow along and work up this cardigan. Please, by all means, if you have any issues working this up or understanding, send me an email and let's talk about it. And that way I can help work you through every step one-on-one. All right, everyone, be blessed, be a blessing, and until next time, bye for now.